Welcome to my podcast. My name is Corrinala. I come to you from the Pacific Northwest where I live with my partner, our 2 kitties, and 2 adopted Mustangs. Information about the Wildhorse adoption program will be in the episode description box. This podcast covers knitting projects, my horsemanship journey, and my other passions like vegetable gardening and bicycling. If you're new here, I hope you find the content interesting. If you're a returning viewer, it's always great to have old friends. The format of this channel typically includes musings on an early walk to the barn to feed the horses, then knitting content, some catch up on the horsemanship journey, and finally more musings or maybe a little bicycling footage if I was lucky enough to get out. Enjoy, and I hope to see you soon. Hi friends, welcome to episode 160 of the Winnies and Knits podcast. Usually I start out in the laundry room, but I had the washing machine going, so I thought I would start outside. Today is, it's a little drizzly. Here, let me turn you around. Today is July 25th, 2025. Should we look at the garden before we go out to the barn? The kale, the mint, there's a cabbage in there. These are CaliKim smart pots and some nursery pots, and you can see trying to grow a zucchini, which it finally sprouted in this old milk crate. There's some red vein sorrel. There's another zucchini that has a fruit forming. My rhubarb just does wonderfully no matter what. Some beans, some beets I will need to transplant maybe this weekend since it's a little drizzly, and then a cucumber. And I have a very nice cucumber in here. Let's see if I can show you. Oops, there it is. So that one's going to be ready to harvest. A bunch of greens. I can't remember what this is, if it's a compact melon or a compact cucumber. Here is a zucchini. There is a slug on the stem, which I don't appreciate, so we'll just flick him off. But look at that zucchini, so that's going to be a little bit. And I have a little eggplant right there. Can you see that? And then some tomatoes that I started from, what do you call them? Cuttings. Doing well. Some herbs, some more brassica types, and then some radishes that need to be thinned out, more basil, and another squash plant. So, and the strawberries that are haven't produced in a while, but we are getting raspberries and blueberries. So that was a little bit of a distraction on the way out to the barn. I mentioned in my vlog how the birds have changed. So the summer birds seem like they're kind of gone, and there's definitely or maybe they're late spring birds that have moved on. Here's all the blueberries that we're harvesting. Also, we've noticed that the light has changed. Yesterday afternoon we were sitting on the deck playing cribbage after work before dinner, and the sun is definitely lower in horizon. Still it got quite warm yesterday. I think it got to 76 degrees. Today is obviously going to be cooler. I don't think we're going to get enough rain to make a much difference in the drought or the fire season. Let me show you the pond real quick. There is no pond. It's just completely dry. Anyway, the title of this podcast today is Community, because I've been thinking a lot about it. Thursday night is knit night, and I went once in June. Then I had to work on a Thursday evening, and then I injured myself, and I haven't gone back. And I'm kind of ready to go back. I'm not wearing my sling anymore except at night, just to remind myself to not roll over on my left side and injure my injure my left shoulder. But I kind of talked myself out of it, and I think I'll go into maybe more my thinking about that in the knitting portion, or maybe after I show you my projects. Good morning, boys. But I ended up staying home, and I'm glad I did, because it was really fun playing cribbage with Randy. So I'll talk about that and where I am with my projects. I'll talk a little bit about horse training, where we're at with that, and possibly kind of what I expect for today. So I'll talk to you soon. Hey friends, welcome to the knitting portion. I'm trying to retrieve a book before it falls on the floor, because I want to talk about this book in a little bit. What am I wearing? I am wearing the Adelyn Tee. This is a Barocco pattern from one of their collections. My computer's doing weird things, so I apologize for that. It's a bit distracting. So I have my notes on it, but I don't necessarily want to be notified about email. Anyway, this pattern was knit in pieces, and there's this kind of really, I don't know how to describe this. It's like a lace pattern. Let's just call it that. It's a lace pattern, and then it has these sleeves that are just kind of flap sleeves. And then it's basically stockinette. But it's knit in pieces, so it's knit front panel, back panel, join, sleeves, and then finish the neck. So it's made out of a yarn that I know I got in New Hampshire, and I feel like, if I remember correctly, it might be a sport weight or a DK weight. And let me stand up. But it's this pretty lavender, and I feel like if I remember correctly, the yarn content is viscose, which is a non-animal fiber. In fact, I think it's a wood byproduct or something like that. That's what I'm wearing. What else do I have going on? Let me show you my new cast on, and this is for Sock Week 2025, hosted by Knitty Natty of the Love and Stitches podcast. I think I mentioned it. Sock Week started on Sunday, July 20th. And then the goal is to make one sock in a week. So I am getting pretty close. This is a Woolen Women yarn, and you can see I made a significant progress on the foot. So this is cuffed down. It's a twisted rib. Here's my progress keeper. So this is where I started, and I expect that this will be at least a half finished object. So it's kind of a neat little pattern. It's got this little lace piece here. So this pattern came with the yarn. The yarn colorway is Denim and Daisies. And then I bought this contrast color at a local yarn store. And the heel flap is a little bit different than normal. It has the standard few rows of knit one, slip one, purl back, but then it has a section of stockinette. And then it repeats, I think, 4 times. So it's an 8-row repeat for this heel, which is hard to see. In fact, when I went to pick up stitches to do the gusset, I had to have a headlamp because it was just, it's dark yarn and it was hard to see the stitches. I like this yarn. I think it's an 80-20, 80% superwash merino and 20% nylon. I use Chogu red lace, size 0. These socks are, I think, are still going to be maybe a little bit big around the foot. I'm not sure what has changed. My gauge has changed, obviously. I'm still using the same needles. So maybe I have to do a 56 cast on for my long skinny feet. Anyway, super fun. I've been working on this most mornings and some evenings, and I'm probably going to spend, let me see, I'm on row 47 for the foot, and that includes the gusset decreases. So I was thinking I was going to knit all the way to 60, but I am thinking maybe 55, and then I will do the toe decreases. Not entirely sure if I'm going to do the toe in the contrast color. I might. Let me show you the yarn caked up. So it's really pretty. Very, this was the March colorway, which, you know, March around here in the Pacific Northwest can be a bit rainy and kind of gloomy. In fact, it's one of our rainiest months. Excuse me. So having this really kind of bright yellow was very cheery, and it came with this bag, Bloom Where You're Planted. So this was part of my retail therapy when I subscribed to the Woolen Women boxes right after I injured my right shoulder in January, and this was part of my retail therapy. I had a lot of retail therapy, and when I injured my left shoulder, hasn't been quite a month, almost a month ago. I haven't had quite as much retail therapy, but so here is the bruise that it remains from where I'm pretty sure when I was in the ER getting this, it's called reduced when you dislocate your shoulder and they put it back in. I'm pretty sure this was some trauma inflicted at the ER, which of course I'm not mad about because the bruise is healed a lot. It's especially healed since I have been not wearing my sling and moving my arm around a lot more. And of course I use, well, I don't know why I said of course, I use arnica gel on it to help reduce the swelling, and it's gone, the bruising has improved significantly since then. So I just have an appointment with a surgeon next week, so hoping for more news about what I can and can't do. I'm definitely off track of the knitting stuff, but I will tell you that I started picking manure in the yard just this last week. I think I started last Sunday, and when Randy was home. I still can't really dump the wheelbarrow, so Randy does that for me. So that's, and I feel like I made a significant amount of progress. I think it just really helps if you can move without injuring yourself or hurting yourself. I think that just helps a lot. Let's get back to the knitting, shall we? Because I have other projects I want to show you. So in this bag, made by my mom, this is a nice quilted bag made with some batik and some hand-dyed fabric. It's lined with this really, I think this is definitely a batik, very pretty, peach and kind of turquoise. This is the mini mock neck tee. Oh boy, this has just been going round and round and round. I'm on the ribbing though, hooray. So I have probably, let me see where the stitch mark or the progress. Here's the progress keeper. So I have made some progress. I don't know if you can see the ribbing there. And I'm using the 2.75. This is a 1x1 rib. I'm using 2.75 Chogu red lace, and I think the body was, I knit that on size US size 4, so 3.5 millimeter. So I'm getting close. There's just some finishing. This armholes might be done. That looks pretty finished. And it's just the neckline after I finish it. So close. This will be a finished object, I hope, next time we see each other. That's that project. And I guess the question is, what am I going to cast on next? Or am I going to get out some of my hibernating? I have 2 hibernating projects. The other one that I'm working on that I'm getting very close to finishing is the Bright Axis Tee. That is out of this book. Oh, I forgot to mention that the mini mock neck is by Jessie Maed Designs. So Knit Happy with self-striping yarn by Stephanie Lotven. She also goes by Tellybean Knits. She's a designer. Here is the pattern here. So I'm on the front yoke. And, you know, once I started to understand the pattern, it's hard to keep a progress keeper, because at some point after you knit, it's a bottom up using size 5 needles. These are knit picks, interchangeable. Let me see if I can hold it up. This is, and I used a Knit Picks gloss for the body, and the colorway is Clarity. It's a very light blue. I'm going to show you it upside down first so you can see the blue. And then because everything's, because it's not blocked, I will block it before I sew the shoulder seams together. This is the progress that I've made. So the self-striping is the yoke, and you can see this arm on this side, and this is the direction I'm going. So let me help this make sense. So I think what happens is you start, when you sew this together, I think you start here. So you have this sleeve. I think that's the way it works. And my needle's kind of distorting it a little bit. And that is not the direction I'm going. Sorry. The direction I'm going, this is where you start sewing the shoulder. So I'm actually working on the right sleeve now. So let me see if I can make sense. There is a way to make the stripes match. I didn't bother. And you can use mattress stitch. I may just crochet it together. That's the way I like to seam. I do very tidy seams that way. So that's what that looks like. And there's this kind of nice detail where the body and the yoke join. It's really wearing out my left arm, so apologize. But I basically have this much left. So what you do is you're knitting in this direction, and then doing a slip knit where these two colors join, and that's how it's making its way across. So I would be sorely tempted to knit this again. What I'm not clear on, and I'm going to have to do some math, is how much yarn I need for the body, because Knit Picks comes in 50-gram balls, and I am not entirely sure how many I've started with. I have 3 left. I suspect I have 5. You know what? I have labels. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. So it looks like it's about 200 grams of body yarn. So, okay, I'm trying to figure out what to do with a one skein of special yarn that I have. And I was thinking it would be really pretty to do it in the body, but it makes a lot more sense to me now to make the yoke out of that special skein and have 2 solid colors for the body. So I'll have to think about that. I'm sure there's other patterns that do that as well. So since I've been thinking about it for months now, did I already say this? A Woolen Women. It was the final box I got. It was for April, and it was, is that right? Yeah, because I got February, March, April, and it was in preparation of the Kentucky Derby. So that's I don't remember the colorway, but it's very pretty, and it's much more special than a pair of socks, in my opinion. And it came with a hat pattern that I think is similar words to the Musselburgh hat, which is a stockinette hat that folds in. Well, I don't want a hat in that color. It's a lot of it's white. So I'm still thinking. The other thing I could possibly do is do the front part of a t-shirt in that special color and the back part in a different color. So as long as I pick a pattern, such as like this, for instance, that is sewn together, it might work. So thank you for helping me think through this. This is a bag also made by my mom. So the garlic fabric. One thing I didn't show you because we were outside on the garden tour is all the garlic that's curing on the dining room table in the other room. So that was, that's where my office is in there. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that when I talk about community. Not about the garlic, but just having an office at home. Anyway, that's that project. So those are the main ones. I am still working on the 100 Acre Wood blanket, which is part of the Bakery Bears Summer of Stitching. It's a pattern for patrons. It's a mitered square blanket. Another bag made by my mom. Another simple drawstring bag with a ribbon, pink ribbon drawstring. This is where I'm putting all my scrap yarns. And then as I knit in the blanket, then I put those scraps in this one. So then, I don't know, this may eventually become scrappy socks or something like that. So I have a lot of other yarns in here. So mitered square blanket, very similar to Cozy's Memories, but the squares are a lot smaller. Sorry, my computer went off and I'm trying to keep track of my notes. It's not plugged in, so it wants to go to sleep a lot. And I think I remembered to put in a progress creeper on it. So let's see once I get this all untangled. I'm using Addie's Flexi Flips 2.75. Yes, here's my progress creeper. It's right here. So I am on the 4th square, and then this one was surprisingly small. So but I think it'll come out in the end. This is a very long-term project. Stitch markers are these cute little penguins I got from an advent last year from Polka Dot Creek. So yeah, I'm just having some fun with it. I think I mentioned last time in my last podcast, I'm kind of aiming for 25 by 25. So this is going to take me a very long time, especially since I pretty much only knit on it on Scrappy Sunday, which I think is a Crazy Sock Lady event. I mean, it's not really an event, and except every Sunday. So those are the knitting projects. I still have Hibernating, my Backlit tee. I'm kind of thinking about getting started on it again. Once I get a couple of these other larger items off my needles, I think my arm's strong enough to work on that. And then the other one is my what's it called? A Love Note sweater. So it's the second Love Note sweater that I'm making, and it's out of that pretty blue yarn that I showed a few episodes ago. So that's the knitting part. Let me grab some tea here. I'm drinking green tea. I'm on my second cup of tea. And I just wanted to talk a bit about life stuff and community. So as I started to say on the walk out to the barn, that I undoubtedly was overthinking knit night. And there's a couple reasons why. Part of it for me, going out in the evening is difficult because during the week, our alarm goes off at 4 a.m. And on the weekends, the cats don't know that it is a weekend, and Herbert thinks it's breakfast at 4 a.m. So if I get to sleep in until 5 on weekends, that's great. This also means that we go to bed usually we're in bed by 7:30. If we're in bed by 9 p.m., it is a late night for us. So by the time that these evening events start, it's very much wind down time for me, for us, really. And it's just hard for me to muster up the gumption to go anywhere, especially on a weeknight. Because of that, I kind of feel like I've always been like that. Even when I was growing up, I kind of wanted to go to bed, be in bed by 8:30 or 9 p.m., which, to be fair, is not a bad trait for someone who is as introverted as I am. I really cherish my solitude time. I love working at home, which is the connection to the office in the dining room, because one, I can't stand being interrupted by other people walking by or coming in to talk to me or stuff like that. I kind of like to know when I'm going to be interrupted, especially if I'm trying to think about something. Of course, I still get interrupted by phone calls and emails and urgent requests for this or that. It's just a lot, for whatever reason, because I'm an introvert, I'm sure, it's a lot easier for me to, I guess, recover from those. So I titled this episode Community because I know that there are a lot of knitters who cherish knit night. And my question for you is, do any of you participate in knit night, and what are your thoughts about it? Like I said, I went the one time, and the people were very nice. It was a very large group. There was one person next to me and a person across from me who clearly worked together in some kind of a medical office. And so they spent some time kind of downloading about work, and I kind of felt like I was not, and I was at the other end of the table. So I kind of felt like I was cut off from some of the other people. But it was just also, there was a lot of chit chat about, care for people with illness, grandchildren. The topics just really ranged. And I think there was someone who came to knit night from a place that's at least 10 or 15 miles away, which surprised, that couldn't be the closest yarn store. But I don't know either. Maybe it is. And this is a very nice yarn store. It's very welcoming, and it's in a small town, easy to get to. And who knows, maybe that person also works in that town. So, community. And also, they're kind of right before I was about to leave knit night, another knitter came in and sat at my end of the table, because it was sort of the people who trickled in last. Knit night's supposed to start at 6 p.m. and I got there before 6, and there was already probably at least 10 people there. So this person sat by me, and I had the two people kind of talking about work across from me, and then this person who wanted to hear the other end of the conversation, who kept kind of leaning forward. It was just, there was some energy about that didn't sit well with me. And I think there's always a way to mitigate that. Maybe next time I'll just sit in a different place if I do get the gumption to go again. On the other hand, is that something I need because I'm an introvert? Sometimes my only human contact is with Randy when he gets home from work. I have a lot of meetings during the day, and they're all virtual. And somehow that seems to satisfy that kind of social interaction that people need. So I don't know. It's just something, like I said, I really overthought it, ended up not going, had a great time playing cribbage on the deck with Randy. So I'm just curious what your thoughts are about community, and maybe how you need community, and how you have community. I mean, today my trainer's coming, and that's, we've been working together for a long time, so we're kind of friends too. So I mean, there's also that piece of it. And then we have family members around, so tomorrow we're getting together with some family members and celebrating a birthday. And then I have usually weekly Zoom calls with my mom and my sister, and that seems to be enough for me, social wise. Community wise, I also kind of feel this larger community of gardeners and people who grow their own produce and other knitters. Like, I feel community with you, even if we don't interact very much. I still feel this sense of community in podcasting and with the other podcasters that I follow. So I think I'm going to leave that topic here and just kind of talk about life stuff. I'm still reading Meditation for Mortals. I'm getting toward the end of it. I might be in the last week of it. I haven't followed it exactly like 4 weeks, but I'm taking it as I need to. And it's just been a really inspiring book, and just thinking about societal norms and things that we think we have to do that we probably don't really have to do. So reading that, enjoying that. I've also been, thinking about my journey with my horses and just really trying to get the most out of understanding their needs and what makes them happy. And Karen Rohlf of Dressage Naturally. So I'll have this under the inspiration part of my show notes. So it's near the top. If you click on the down arrow and click more, you should be able to see that. Dressage Naturally. Karen Rohlf is a fairly high level dressage rider. I don't know that she competes at a very high level any longer. And dressage is a discipline, a riding discipline. And it's dressage is a French word for training, I think. That's what I've heard. And it really comes from the way horses needed to be trained to perform effectively in battle. Back when horses were used during battles. So think of Napoleon, for instance, and prior to that. If you are familiar with the Spanish Lipizzaner school, that is very high level dressage. So something to think about if you're interested. Anyway, Karen has quite a journey, has had quite a horsemanship journey, and realized that she was at a younger age. I don't know exactly. She was almost ready to quit horses because there was just something missing for her in the way that horses were treated. And she went on this path of her own of trying to help their horses become happy athletes. And that's something that I think builds connection. Speaking of, community and connection, and they're kind of similar. So I signed up for this online course. It's a series of videos, and then there's 2 live calls. And so far I've enjoyed it. I mean, it really helps me shift my thinking towards the way, I've been on this path of being more communicative with horses rather than kind of traditional horsemanship, which has a lot to do with force and maybe coercion and unpleasant ways of horse training. So I'm only on like the second lesson. I'll probably work on that some more after I'm done with this podcast. And so I'll let you know how it goes. I've been working with Odin in the round pen almost every day this week, and he really appreciates it. He comes to the round pen on his own, and I don't really have the strength to put a halter on him, so we just work at liberty, and I've been just trying to be very patient about how he understands what I'm asking him, and I try to be very clear with him as well. And when he doesn't understand what I mean, then I try to break it down to make it more clear for him. So I think he really enjoys it. He's come to the round pen willingly every single day. And he likes to know how he's going to earn his treats. So it's a good opportunity for me to be able to have a good excuse to give him treats because he earns them. So that's been super fun. Is there anything else I want to talk about? I think that is it for the most part. I mean, I'll talk a little bit about last week's horse training. So Bragi got right in the trailer. Megan thinks he's ready to go, maybe even a drive around the block. I'm not sure if we're going to load both Bragi and Odin today and see how that goes. I've been teaching Odin to lower his head when I have to put like a fly mask or anything on him because it helps me in my current state of physical capability. And he's taken to that very well. So I think if he's willing to lower his head to help me get a halter on him, I think that we could probably get them both in the horse trailer. But I'll keep you posted. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Take care, everyone.